Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. First things first, guys, make sure you smash the like, subscribe if you're new around here, and as always, leave your thoughts in the comments below. And in today's video, we're going to be getting the lowdown on teenager Omari Kellyman. The 18-year-old has completed his move to Chelsea, £19 million, just 3 Premier League appearances for Villa last season. Certainly didn't have that down as a transfer Chelsea would be making this summer, but to get the lowdown on him, what we can expect, positions, profile, and all that jazz. Delighted to be joined once again by Luke from Up the Villa podcast, mate. Great to have you back on again. We're catching up a lot at the moment, and we might as well start our own show at this rate with all the business that Chelsea and Villa are doing with each other. But first of all, mate, before we get into Kellyman, how's this move gone down within the Villa fan base? You know, in terms of his departure. Obviously, he's a young kid. He hasn't really had much of an opportunity. He kind of broke in a little bit last season. How's it gone down amongst Villa fans, his departure?
I think a bit mixed, to be fair. You've got people that have watched him quite a lot, like me. I go down to watch the academy quite regularly, so I've seen him play a lot since he's been here. And then you get the ones that are sort of like, oh, we had PSR problems, like, oh, £20 million for Kellyman, take it all day long. So you get those two different versions, really. The ones that have not seen him play are happy for him to go, and the ones that have seen him play are thinking, okay, one of our best academy players. It's a bit of a blow that he was the one that was sort of like on that periphery of making Premier League minutes. So I think two ways really, but split each way.
How would you rate him at Villa, like in terms of his reputation? You know, coming through the academy, is he one of the best talents from the academy? Are there others ahead of him? Was he viewed as kind of like the standout performer there?
So, I mean, we've got a really good academy. What we've been doing recently is we've been going across the whole country and picking the best academy talents from every academy and bringing them to Villa. So Kellyman started at Derby about 2 years ago. Villa took Kellyman from Derby, put him in our academy. So he's not a player that sort of joined us at the age of 7 and been with us, such as like a Jacob Ramsey or a Jack Grealish. So he's not in that sort of Villa. He's one of our own. He's an academy player, but we haven't really developed him from a young age. So in that sense, he's not really sort of been here that long, basically. But our academy's big. It's good. We've got some really good ones like Josh Feeney, a defender. He's really good. We've got Rory Wilson, who I thought you guys might have been I thought he might have been the one that you were looking at, really. Rory Wilson is a really young Scottish international goal scorer, got bags and bags of potential. He's ceiling is really high. Everybody thinks he's going to go to the very top. So he's the one that I thought you might have gone for. And then we've got like Tommy O'Reilly, who's now playing out in like a second division La Liga team. So our academy is like really, really good. So, but he was the one that was sort of like the next player that was going to like start breaking through. So, he, like I say, he's been on the edge of sort of getting Premier League minutes. He's, just being that player that sort of makes that match day squad. So, that's where he's been within sort of like Villa, basically.
And in terms of the kind of player he is, obviously I'd never heard of him before the news broke that we were going to do a deal with him. I've read things saying that he's a little bit like Kai Havertz in terms of a sense that you're not really sure what his best position is. Can play a number of positions in the attacking areas. How would you best describe him, and what would you say is his best position?
So his best position would be as a number 10, I think. I think centrally he's really, really good. We've been going to Bodymoor Heath to watch him play, where Villa do their academy games. And there was one game where we were like sat on like the second row, and there was like this guy in front of us, and we were like, who is that? Like, we really recognised him. And basically Kellyman came off, and then these guys just dipped straight away. And it was like the Northern Ireland manager that had come to watch him. And like, the Northern Ireland manager, like watching like a kid of his age early on, in his development, shows that how thought after he is, basically. But he plays as a number 10. he's got sort of like this really sort of gliding sort of running style. So he's sort of like, it's really strange. Like when you watch him, he's got this like gliding running style. His touch is really good. His vision is good. When he's got the ball, he's able to sort of make space quite quickly. Very, very attacking as well. First thought is sort of like, how can I progress the ball forward? How can I beat a man? How can I get my shot off? So he's a player that's like really exciting. He's a player that in the Villa Academy that he's been the one where like everybody looks to find him and he finds the space well. He's got a great shot on him. Like his shooting ability is really, really good. And yeah, he's just like a leading figure in our academy. Basically, he's had a couple of or to say Europa League, Conference League, or Premier League appearances. He's had a handful. I think it was might have been in Europe or a cup game or something. And he came on and he looked good. He was finding space really well. And I think a little bit like, now I'm not comparing him to like Cole Palmer, but you know how Cole Palmer sort of like right place, right time. Like he's got that sort of in his game. So he's a really exciting player. And I think he's one where most Villa fans would say he's going to go to the very, very top, you know. But again, he needs to play. Like at Villa, he was sort of like Unai Emery didn't send him out on loan. So a lot of our youngsters go straight out on loan. So they're playing in like League Two, they're playing in League One. Couple might go into the Championship. And these are like our 18, 19, 20-year-olds. So we don't sort of like keep them just to play in the under-23s. We move them on to play proper football. And Kellyman, last season, yeah, he plays a couple of under-23 games, but when he's making up the squad, he really now needs to start playing games. And, you know, we were sort of thinking like pre-season for Villa, is he going to sort of like get more match minutes, or are we going to sort of like send him out on loan for more of like his development? So it's going to be interesting to see what you guys do with him. But the one thing I would say for him is that he needs to play. And that's where he's at, basically.
This is my thing with Chelsea in general. It's all very well accruing all these exciting, talented youngsters, but if there's no plan for them, there's no clear pathway. There's not a clear plan of where they're going to play, how often they're going to play. Then you're just stunting their development, and the whole thing's a complete waste of time. I mean, how much of a say do you reckon he's actually had in this move?
Probably nothing. Yeah, probably nothing. I think, you know, when Chelsea come calling for any player, I think eyes probably light up and think, yeah, that's a club that I want to go to. Like everybody would want to play for Chelsea, you know, no matter what level you're at, whether you're a first teamer, a reserve player, like, you know, you're a really successful club. But the question is sort of, where do you fit in? You know, like if I was to look at Kellyman now, there's two players I would be looking at, and I'd be thinking, well, Chukwuemeka and Omari Hutchinson. Like Hutchinson for me is a level above at the minute than Kellyman is. So where do we fit into this sort of like position, basically? Because I think they're all pretty similar. They're all doing really well. They're all really highly thought after. But like you say, you can't keep having all of these really young players, because young players either need to play or need to move on or need to have a pathway that can get into the first team. So, yeah, I think all of these players would say, I back my ability. I reckon I can get into the first team. I reckon I can do this. But, you know, can you? That's the question. Is there a pathway for them to doing it? And what I probably would say is that, you know, Maresca coming in and sort of like, I guess he's got no say on transfers. He gets what he's given and he has to coach them and put them into the team. A player like Kellyman and Chukwuemeka may have an opportunity because, you know, a good coach working with his system and what he wants to get out of like certain players, it might be a decent pathway. So, yeah, I think that's where I'm at, really.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll be honest. I don't know what the plan for him is. You know, reports are suggesting that he's a first team signing. I cannot work out where he's going to play. He's not going to go into the starting lineup. There's a whole raft of players that will rightfully be ahead of him in the pecking order. If he's lucky, he might, get a few minutes in the league here and there potentially. There's probably more of a chance in the group stages of the Conference League, maybe early rounds of the Cup. But even then, I still think he's behind a lot of players. Now, you're not going to spend 19 million quid to stick him in the academy. He's going to play. So he's either going to be part of the first team squad where he's not really going to play very much, or he's going to be sent out on loan somewhere. And my sort of worry, I would say, is that obviously I want every player to do well that comes to Chelsea. But I've seen stuff like this before. You sign talented youngsters, you send them out on loan for a couple of seasons, and then they're not going to play for Chelsea, and you just try and flip them on for a profit in a few years' time. And I feel that there's a chance that he could just become another one of those. He's not going to play ahead of Palmer and Kunku, Madueke, your Jacksons, your Mudryks, Sterlings, etc. He just isn't. He's not going to play ahead of a Chukwuemeka either. But just on that, would you say he's similar to Carney in any sense at all? Obviously, I'm sure you would have watched Carney a lot as a youngster as well. Would you say that Kellyman potentially could be better than him, or do you think Chukwuemeka, is a cut above him?
I think Chukwuemeka's probably a little bit stronger. I think maybe Kellyman's got he's really tall, Kellyman. So I think if Kellyman was to sort of like bulk out and get a bit stronger as well, that will help his game. But I mean, Chukwuemeka was, sensational for our academy, and I'd probably say Chukwuemeka would be ahead of Kellyman, definitely. I don't know whether you've maybe sort of got this thing where you're maybe going to send him out on loan and sort of do what Hutchinson's done at Ipswich and get his value a lot higher. I mean, you look at like what we've done recently, like we signed John Duran, and I'm annoyed that you're not going after Duran.
That's gone cold.
I know.
Interest might still be, it's maybe still there. But I don't see that happening now.
But what I was saying to you when I was speaking to you before about him, and I was saying he's a nightmare and he's a character and all this and that, and then you hear that Chelsea have done these background checks and he's like basically saying that he wants to play and all this business. Like, I think there's something in that as well with him. But so like we signed Duran for 19 million. He played a couple of games and we were going to sell him to you for 40. So there is this sort of thing that you can do with these players now and just get their value, like double it, and in a year it's like doubled. So I mean, good loan spells, couple of minutes in the cups, maybe couple of goals, it'll be worth about 40 million in about 2 years' time anyway. So
it is true. It is mad how just like values just seem to increase, but I think he'll get a chance in pre-season to show what he can do, and then I think a decision will be taken from there. But I'd be very, very surprised if he was part of the first team squad next season. If he is, I can't see him featuring that much. Would you say that he's more of a creator than he is a goal scorer?
No, I'd say he can score. I'd say he's more of a, from when I've seen him, he's been more of a scorer than a provider, really. Some of the goals I've seen him score from like outside the box, just smacked it and it's gone top corner. And I think another good thing about him as well is he gets, when he has sort of got roughed up a little bit, or there has been a bit of a crunching tackle on him, he just gets up and carries on. You see some of these creative players where they'll have a tackle going on them and they'll just disappear for the rest of the game. So I think he has got that good ability of, well, he's sort of like, he gets kicked, he gets back up and he just carries on and does his stuff. So I think that's a good trait that he's got as well.
Yeah, I mean, how good do you think he can be? Obviously, I know, there's a lot of talented kids, 17, 18, 19-year-olds and whatnot. And, they get spoken about in very high regard. And there's a lot of developing still to do at this point in time. But from what you've seen of him, from what you kind of hear about him within Villa as well, and just generally, how good do you think Kellyman can become?
I think he could. I think he could become anything, really. I mean, I do think you've probably got to hone in his position a little bit more and mould him of like what actual type of player he is. He's not a striker. You could possibly see him on the wing. His dribbling is quite good, but I think that number 10 is where I think he'd probably hone his skills. I'm not sure whether he's got to pick what nationality he is as well. I don't think he's fully decided yet. I don't think whether he wants to be Northern Ireland-ish or English. I'm not sure. So maybe that he's got a decision to make there. But yeah, I think he's, I'm gutted to see him leave Villa because I know how good I think he can become. But like I said earlier, he's got to play games now. So you can be a good player and have all the potential in the world, but if you're not playing and you're just training and playing under 23s, it's absolutely pointless because you're not gonna develop in there. You need to be playing either football out on loan or you need to be getting minutes. So I would say that's the sort of decision that the manager's probably got to make, really.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Needs to decide whether he should go on loan or not. I suspect he probably will go on loan. I doubt it would be to Strasbourg. I wouldn't have thought they'd send him to France, but you never know with Chelsea. But I would expect something like maybe a championship loan, similar to what we did with Omari Hutchinson. Could work really well. Championship is a great division to sort of cut your teeth in, learn. It's physical. It's senior football. It's all great development, great exposure to the game. And I think, that's probably the next step for him. Just briefly, mate, to round out, if he'd stayed at Villa, do you think he would have been part of the squad next season, or do you reckon you would have sent him on loan?
I think he'd have gone out on loan. I think you look at us next season and you think, okay, what they're going to want to, Villa are going to want to maintain where we are. So we're going to want to try and compete and stay around fourth. And we're going to want to try and do well in the Champions League. And at this moment in time, he's not getting ahead of Bailey. He's not getting ahead of Diaby. He's not playing ahead of some central midfielders we've got. So I would probably say a loan will probably do it. I mean, we sent Philogene. Don't know whether you've heard of Philogene.
Oh, the guy that's done well at Hull.
Yeah, I mean, he's on Barca's radar now.
Yeah. He's done really well.
Yeah, so I mean, these what we were saying about fees and loans, etc. I think there's still great value in the Championship. I think a lot of people sort of think, you don't sign players from we signed Morgan Rogers for Middlesbrough in January, and come the end of the season, he was basically the first name on the team sheet. He was that good for us. So I think doing well in the Championship can help catapult your career quite a lot as well. So I'm with you. I think a Championship loan move, see how he does there, see how he develops, and then go from there.
No, absolutely, mate. Thanks as always for your time. Looking forward to seeing Kellyman in action. How much we're going to see of him next season, I'm not sure, but certainly pre-season, we should get a little insight into what he's about. People should know by now, mate, but just remind them again, as always, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, mate, Up the Villa podcast on YouTube. I think I should be the co-host on your channel, mate.
Might as well, mate. I mean, you boys going out to the States for pre-season again?
Yeah, we are. I don't think we're playing. We're not playing.
I don't think we're playing. I don't think we're playing. But yeah, no, mate. Thanks so much for your time as always, guys. Make sure you check out the Villa podcast. Go and subscribe to them. Some great stuff over there. It'll be tagged in the title, so make sure you go and show them some love. From myself, as always, thanks for tuning in, guys. Smash the like, subscribe. I'll catch you again in another one soon.